righty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio this evening. I'm so happy to be with you, and I've got a couple of things to take care of. First of all, it is pouring rain here where I'm at. Second time this year. I'm thankful to have the rain, but if you hear a background noise, it's coming from above me. I am in the garage. And there's not a lot in between the roof and me. So if you hear some stray noise, that's what it is. Today I picked that. We're going to paint an orchid. I've got my drawing of it here. Was lucky enough to go to an orchid show last weekend, and maybe I'm feeling a little inspired. I don't know, but we're going to give this a shot and see how it goes. Hopefully we come up with something that looks quite nice. We are broadcasting here on what I call my home station on YouTube and rebroadcasting over to Twitch. And last week, I think we had a little trouble with the chat. This week, if Twitch puts in some chat, it's going to come in right here, so we'll be able to see it. Oh, that reminds me, down here, I got to figure out where everything's at. Or you can see all the palette colors that I'm using over here. And I see Liza has asked me a question. Aren't you glad the new roof is on? I'm so happy the new roof is on. I looked when I got home from work to see if there were any leaks, and none yet, but let's hope that's behind us. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to do a couple of things, right? I'm going to use, for the most part, do I have a scratch piece of paper here? I must. Somewhere. Come on. Trouble grabbing some stuff. All right, a scratch piece of paper here. I'm hoping I can use Quiacridone Rose. There's the color, and maybe if we need to, a little bit of, I think that'll work out really nicely. A little bit of Phthalo Blue with our Quiacridone Rose, and that's going to give us a nice purpley color there. If I hold that up close to that, you can see that's a kind of a close color. So that's my general plan. Those are going to be the basic colors that we're going to have going on. Let's get rid of that. I've already got a little bit of this color mixed over here, so let's just continue with that. And as always, if you guys have any questions, throw them out there. I love answering questions. Liza, you love Quiacridone Rose. Liza, you're a lot like me. You just love colors, because colors are pretty cool. Sudike is here. Hello. Bot Rix is here, because Bot Rix is here to help us with the connection to Twitch. And anybody over on Twitch? Hello, Twitch world. Okay, I'm going to jump in here, and I don't know. I think I'm going to jump in and paint very lightly. This one for no particular reason, this petal for no particular reason. I want to keep this very loose, or I'm sorry, very light. Very light. I want to see if I can do a number of different layers with this. I think that doing multiple layers is going to allow us to get some really cool effects on here. What I want to do is get some basic color on here, and then we're going to modify it. We're going to mix some blues in here, which should help it look like it's cupped a little bit. We'll get some darker, richer colors in here, which should help it feel a little more vibrant. Let's see. Liza says, I've matched the color perfectly. I don't know about perfectly, but I've got them matched mostly. We're going to get to... We'll still change this. You know, it's me. I want to... I'm always in hunt of finding watercoloriness. So I've got this color. Like, I've got too much water on there already. I've got this color which matches closely with the color of the petals of that, but I don't want to leave it with that. I don't want to. I'm not comfortable with just that. So we're gonna toy with it, and we're gonna play with it, and we're gonna see what we can do with it. I guess I should say before we move on too far, this is my Fabriano Studio watercolor paper. A new paper again. Well, not a new paper. I've used this plenty of times. But a different paper. And I'll be honest with you. Last night when I pulled it out of the drawer and started to put this together and do my drawing, I could have sworn I did it on like 12 by 16 paper. And then I got done with it and I looked at it and I went, that's not what I wanted at all. It's way too small. I was going to do something much larger than that. All right, we're up to about 10 people watching now. There's no requirement to, but if you're here and you're new, just please, reach out and say hi. I like to get to know who's watching. If you have any questions, throw those out there. I love answering questions. And if you've been here before, say hi again. Would love to reconnect with everybody. I like that this is a regular group that gets together, and so I feel like we've all become friends as this has gone along. Kenya's here. Hello, Kenya. Glad you could make it. Like I said, this is I was going to say this is a therapy group. It's not really a therapy group, but it's it's a nice friendly group, and I always look forward to meeting with you guys on Wednesday. I've told you plenty of times, one of the highlights of my week is being involved in this and getting together with everybody. And if I can teach anything about watercolors, I'm happy to do that. If you just want to sit and have a chat, I'm cool with that too. I'm just happy that we're all here together and sharing in some common times and hopefully some common love for watercolors. Dwayne's here. Dwayne is here. Welcome, Dwayne. Welcome, Susie. Just looking up to see what's going on up there. Had a fantastic conversation with Dwayne earlier in the week. Had nothing to do with watercolors. You can guess. Had to do with fishing, but I had a fantastic conversation. Got a little insight into what fishing is like in his neck of the woods, and I shared with him a little bit of what I have going on here. And that was really nice. Liza, you're glad I'm doing a floral. You're in the mood for spring. So, I will be. Dwayne's listening and driving home from Walmart again. All good. All good. Liza, I was going to pick another bird and do another bird. Actually, I think last week I said I was going to do a lantern or something, and I thought about that. And then I was like, I want to paint a bird. And then we went to this, I feel like I have this in front of me. And then we went to this orchid show, and I'm like, I should probably paint an orchid now. So I had a few things going on there. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. But I have, in general, a hard time with flowers. I don't know if it's the shape. I don't know if it's the shadowing. I'm not exactly sure what my stumbling block with them is. Or maybe it's just me. But I'm planning on doing some additional flowers in hopes of, increasing my flower skill. So you should probably be prepared to see me do several flowers in the spring and maybe into the summer. At least that's my plan. And I promise you some will be better than others. And that's kind of how it goes, right? We try for the best. You make a plan. You kind of try to stick with that plan through everything you're doing. And sometimes it works great. And sometimes it doesn't. I think you're better at them than you think I'm better at them than I think I am. I think I'm... I probably am. I'm probably a harder critic on myself than most. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to, put down my painting or claim to be bad or anything. It's to me, that's never really the point. I try to set my own standard when I do it. And I have a vision for most things, a vision in my mind of what I want it to look like. And if I don't meet that, then I'm always a little disappointed in it. I will admit to having gone back and looked at things days, weeks, and months after having painted them and go, you know what, that really wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was. Or sometimes, you know what, that isn't really quite as good as I thought it was. So you're probably right. I could be easier on myself. Tom is here. Tom Travers. Welcome. And there's somebody streaming in from Twitch, it looks like. I can't see. First, somebody saying hi, Tom. Or maybe that's here. Somebody says hi, Tom. Did I see that wrong? I saw something pop in over there. There it is. I got a hi, Tom, from somebody. It's too small for me to read. I'm sorry. My old eyes. Anyways, I think it's going to go. I think we're going to get there. I am Gnome says, what's your favorite watercolor brand? Watercolor paint? My favorite watercolor paint brand, without a doubt, is what I'm using over here. I've had it in my palette for 15 years or so, and it is without a doubt my favorite. It's M-Gram watercolor paints. Fantastic paints. I will use them forever and ever. And I don't want to say that other paint brands aren't any good. I have plenty of other paints. Liza will tell you how many I have. It's quite a few. But I always come back to my M-Gram paints. They just seem to wet the best. They are very light, fast. I'm not huge on granulation, so the fact that they are a bit less granular, I really like. I think they're just fantastic paints. So my favorite brand of paints by far, M-Gram. My license is Michael has a million paints. Illyria is here too. Hello, Illyria. If we're talking about my favorite, what else can we talk about? My favorite paper, certainly not the paper that I'm using, but this is okay. I would have to say the favorite paper for me would be the king of them all, the one we all talk about. That would be Arches. It's wonderful, wonderful paper. I have a friend who claims it's too hard, and he doesn't like to use Arches watercolor paper. He prefers to use Cuthbert Mill paper, which is, again, really nice. But I just find that the Arches paper, and I'm talking cold press paper. I don't use much rough, and I don't use much smooth. I have both, but I don't use them much. But it has a nice tooth on it, and it holds your paint where you want it to. Excuse me. And the quality of the sizing keeps your paint roughly where you want it to be. It doesn't allow it to spread too much. You start moving into some cheaper papers, and even if it's cotton based, the paint goes on and it just continues to run and run and run. Liza, never heard of Cuthbert Mill. Yeah, they it is from England. It's definitely from England. They put out, I'm trying to think. They put out paint under a different, or paint. I'm sorry. They put out paper under a different name also. I don't recall what that is. Elira says, I've got to try arches someday. So, Elira, I don't know what you typically use, but if you're moving from, this is what I found. If you're moving from a wood pulp paper to a cotton paper, like arches, it's going to be very different. It's going to be very different. If you are just moving from a different cotton to arches, you'll see a lot of the same look and feel to it. There'll be some different qualities to it, but it'll be very similar. When I first started using arches paper, probably like many of us, maybe not all of us, but probably many of us, I went, oh, this is so much more expensive than my other paper. I have to use it very judiciously. I don't want to just use it and then use it all up. And so I never, I'd use it for this, and I'd use it, for a special painting. And my paintings never quite looked like I want them to look because I wasn't used to using the paper. So if you're going to make a switch to arches, maybe give yourself, a few paintings to let the feel and the work of the paper break in for you a little bit. Let's see, Kenya, I just started an arches journal and you're really loving it. That's great. Like a travel journal? Like a leather bound journal? Or I guess it doesn't have to be real leather. It could be whatever kind of binding they put on it, but a bound journal, not like a ring binder or just a stack of papers. Let's see. Susie says that Mill makes Bockingford paper. There it is, Bockingford, and Saunders Waterford paper. There, okay, yeah, Bockingford was what I was thinking of and couldn't come up with. Is there a brand of paper that is a wood pulp cotton blend? In fact, there is. It's what I'm using right now. There are lots of papers that are wood pulp cotton blend, and they try to grab the best of both worlds. And some do a better job than others, and some leave a bit to be desired. But I'm using Fabriano Studio watercolor paper right now, and it is a blend. It's a 75-25 blend. 75 wood pulp, 25% cotton blend. And I think it does a good job. I would never say run out and buy some of this, but I think it does a pretty good job for what it is. And it's pretty inexpensive. But there are lots of makers that make blended papers. Many. Travel journal with a book binder. Okay, cool. Kenya, I actually love taking my travel journal out. If you can believe it, I have several. And just sitting out around town, taking my watercolor journal, my book. It's not very big. Well, I've got a couple, but most of them aren't very big. Maybe, 7 or 8 inches by 5 inches. Something in that range and just sit there and paint. And it's nice to not have to worry about too large of a sheet, and you can just focus on capturing the essence of whatever it is you're looking at. I am Noam. I've been using Winsor & Newton for a while now, but I also really enjoy Daler Rowney. You've been using Winsor & Newton paints. So I can tell you one of the big differences, I am Noam, between these M-Gram paints and the Winsor & Newton paints is the Winsor & Newton paints dry up a lot harder. These M-Gram paints stay so nice and soft. Sometimes maybe it's a little too soft because as everybody who's a regular here has seen, I put some new paint in my palette here, and then I had to close it, and that was, you know, days after. It was still days after I had done it, but my paint was still so soft and so moist that that the paints from the top ran onto the bottom. Specifically, my Cobalt Green did. So much so that I had Cobalt Green here on this side of my palette when it had been closed on top, and it took me, I don't know, what, 8 months to work through the amount of paint there. It was a lot. It was a lot. It took a long time to do that. Okay, so we're getting a few different colors in here, and you can see they're not all the same color. They're not all the same intensity. If I were going to do that, I would just paint the whole thing one big swab of this mauve, pinky color here. And Liza's asking, where you got that journal? Let's see. Elira says, you know, Handy Wipes. I really like the bamboo knockoffs of those. They're absorbent and last a long time. I'd be curious if bamboo paper would be interesting to paint on. So, interestingly enough, they do make bamboo paper, and you can paint on it. And if I knew I had to prep for this, I'd have gotten the name of it. It's Hanemule. There you go. Hanemule makes some very nice bamboo paper. It's an interesting. I've painted on some. I couldn't tell you exactly what the difference is because it was a while ago. But I remember painting on it, and it's got some different qualities from all of the other ones. It still does have lanolin in it, right? And the lanolin helps to retard the movement of your pigments, just like it does in a cotton, the lanolin there. And it has some wood fibers in it because, of course, it's wood, and that wood fibers allows the pigment to move a little bit more. So it's an interesting balance between the two. I remember using it a couple of years ago, and again, I apologize for not having any better explanation for everything than that. It's been a while since I've used it. Kenya got her travel journal in a small art store in Detroit. I remember I used to, yeah, I guess I can say that. I used to have relatives that lived in Detroit. They would still be living there, but all of them that were my age grew up and moved away, and all their parents have basically become snowbirds and and moved on somewhere else. But I used to go there. I used to look forward to going there to seeing all my relatives, because we would go to a hobby shop there called Tiny Tim's, where they had slot cars. And I remember just standing around that big slot car track and watching everybody race them around and around and around. It was so interesting. Lewis Double says something. I don't know if it came up over there. He's on Twitch. If you get the chance, there's a Bao Hong watercolor paper, student grade, 100% cotton, and really affordable, and it's not bad at all. Well, I'll tell you, Lewis, I have some, and I actually like it. The Bao Hong watercolor paper, student grade, and now it looks like I've put my finger in my painting again. Why would I do that? I like very much. I think it's quite good paper. Also, I bought a roll of it, right? I'm just going to jump in and try it out and see how it is. I bought a big roll of it. I like it. I like it better than the artist grade. The artist grade, cold pressed, is much more like a rough paper, and it's I don't know, it's not quite as nice. It's a rough paper. I guess you could say it's coarse. Was that a bad joke? I don't know. I'm going to have a raffle sometime for the person who comes up with the best bad joke or pun. How about that? The best of the worst. Let's see. Sudike says, I keep a small Hanamiel watercolor book in my purse. I use it when I sketch produce in the grocery store. Oh, now that's interesting. Sketching produce. Is it... So I'm going to ask, is this just a big grocery store, or do you have like an outside market that you go to? I have to think, if I sat down to sketch some fruit in my local store, I'd be getting a few strange looks. I would definitely be getting a few strange looks. I Am Gnome says, unfortunately, I gotta go back up now. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of art stores where I am, except for the big chains like Hobby Lobby and Michael's. I wish we had little ones around. Yeah, I'm not wild about. We have Hobby Lobby and Michael's, not named after me. Market here too, and I'm not wild about either of those. I feel for you. We have one little one around here, I think only because the university is here, that a lot of the students buy their art supplies at, and if I need something in a pinch, that's where I go. Yeah, Susie says no art stores near her either. Eliza, I am so sad about that. I write Blick all of the time and ask them to out a store in my areas. Yes, I would love for Blick to come here. How nice would that be? This was years ago. My family and we all drove down to the LA area. And coming out, my wife was like, okay, you need to stop at the Dick Blick store. You're not going to get this opportunity for another, 3 years or 4 years. You need to stop there and see if there's anything you need. And I did, and there wasn't at that point in time. But they do have lots of good stuff. I do like them. Let's see, I Am Gnome says, they used to have a very small art store, but they went out of business. Did they go out of business because they lost all their very small artists? Or were they selling to very large artists too? Maybe it's a store that they thought they only had to sell to small artists. Just, taking a guess, I don't know. It's a large grocery store. People pretty much leave me alone, but they do stare at me like I'm weird. Oh, and I Am Gnome says, Michael's is stupidly expensive. Tom, you have a Blix near you. You got lucky with that. I wish. All right, this is just a mix of a couple of the greens that are here. There's nothing special about this. I just want to get some base color on a few of these stems as they travel around, and just block off some space here. We'll come back and we'll do more with these in a little bit, but I just want to get these on here so I know where they're at, and mostly so I'll know maybe don't paint over these if I have the opportunity to not to. And there we go. Bada boom, bada bing, something like that. Okay, so cool. Whoops, let me get this where you can see it. So we've got a nice base here right now. We've got a really nice base, and what we're going to do is we're going to start coming in and we're going to start adding some additional layers of color on here. And what I'm hoping, excuse me, I had to get a drink of this. What I'm hoping is that by adding these layers of color, we're going to start to see some really cool things happen, right? So I think this next layer is going to be an enhancement of basically the same color scheme that we have. I probably will, going forward, start to add a little blue so we get a little deeper, I don't know, shadowing, or so we can start to build in some shaping with what we do. But I'm going to start with just adding some of the same values that we have here. And I'm going to pre-wet this, and I'm going to move down a brush size, and I'm hoping that's going to allow me to push the colors around where I want them. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of color here, and this is going to come all the way down over here. And I'm going to start to separate this petal because it's behind that one from the one in front of it. Probably even go just a slight bit darker than this. Let's be a little brave. Sometimes being brave gets me into trouble. Keep this in my hand. We're going to start to add a little bit of color here and a little bit of color there. I guess I'm adding this little extra color, hoping we can do this in 2 layers rather than 3 layers. Right? If it takes 3, it takes 3. We'll put on another one, but maybe we can start to get this in 2 layers. I just don't want that to. I don't want a hard line up there. Because it's wet, because I pre-wetted, I can pull a little bit of that color off. And so it should start to look like there's a little bit of cupping in there. Let's see. Susie says, we used to have an art supply used co-op store here. COVID closed. COVID. Wait. Who tore down a Frank Lloyd Wright building? That's horrible. Let's see. I Am Gnome says the store went out of business, not because they were selling to little arts people, but it didn't appeal to a lot of people in the community. They were also neighboring the Michaels, so that didn't help. Yeah. Oof. Liza's complaining about having to spend so much money to get free shipping, which is never good. Michael, what What's a color you almost never use on my palette? uh, I've got a lot. It's a great question. What don't I use a lot of on my palette? So let me add some water to this. Let me answer it this way. Because there are probably a lot of colors that other people use that I don't use. And there are some that I like more than others. So I am known, you use Winsor Newton, so you probably know about Winsor Green. So Winsor Green is Phthalo Green, right? I love phthalo. Not a lot of people keep Phthalo Green on their palette. Some people will keep Viridian on their palette. My personal opinion is that Viridian doesn't belong on any palette, anywhere, ever. But Phthalo Green, even though it's this crazy bright color, I love it because it mixes well and it plays well with others. And it allows you to build up color. Paynes Gray. No, I have Paynes Gray out here. There's a time and a place for Paynes Gray. I don't have a problem with Paynes Gray. If I'm painting on my own on the weekend, I'm probably going to make my own gray, probably, rather than use Paynes Gray. But Paynes Gray has its place. It has its purpose. I'm trying to think. I used to use a lot of Phthalo Blue, which I don't use at all anymore, and it's a wonderful color. But I think I can do just as well in making my own. I don't have burnt sienna. How about that? Oh, there you go. Phthalo Green's your favorite color. I don't have burnt sienna on my palette. And that's one that I would be willing to bet that most people do have on their palette. What do I mix Phthalo Green with? Liza, you know I mix it with everything. I'll mix it with my yellows. I'll mix it with blues. I'll mix it with, if I want to make a really nice gray. You can mix Phthalo Green with not alizarin crimson, with my Pyrrol Red. Makes a beautiful greeny gray color. It's wonderful. What else do I use Phthalo Green for? I'll mix it with anything. I'll mix it with that Azo Orange that's on my palette. I have no problem with that at all. Azo Orange and Phthalo Green, wonderful. See, now Liza's just asking the questions because she knows I'm gonna pull out my palette and start doing all these colors, right? You should do a demo. Right, watch. Yeah, this is the back of a page, so the sizing is a little weird, right? That's okay. It's all right. Phthalo Green. This is just going to be nice and wet. I hope you can see it. Can you see that? You can see that. A little bit. Come on. A little bit of this. Oh, look at that beautiful color. A little bit of that Pyrrol Red. Whatever you want that gray to be. Just mix it in there. Look at, that's an alive color. You want it a little bit more red over here? Sure. A little bit more over there. Look at, that's a beautiful alive color with that red and that green to make that gray. That's fantastic. I painted my kids used to go to Gen X says, Michael, where are you at? It's late. I am on the central coast of California. For me, it's, I don't know, what time is it? It's 7:41. So it's not that bad. Here is alizarin crimson with phthalo green. Look at that. It's beautiful. Look at that color gray. It's an alive color. There's so much going on in there. Elira says the colors using are gorgeous even with the nighttime blue filters. I have 1, 2, 3 lights here, and they're fairly warm colors. They're not that blue. Oh, are you talking about the blue filters on your device? I could be. Let's see. Oop, that might be more than I want on here. Phthalo green. Sure, phthalo green and a cold yellow. Gonna make this, you want a springtime green? You got it right there. Spring. I wouldn't use that for all of the plants, but for some highlights or something, right? Wonderful. Take your phthalo green. Put on a little warm yellow instead of cold yellow. It mutes that way down. Look at that. Now you get a much richer, darker green. And if you want the other one, right, there's our phthalo green. Put that orange on it. And it's going to just mute it down that much more. Kind of almost a dirty green. Look at that, but still a fantastic color. You can see those two right there. I love those two. What else can you do with phthalo green? You can do anything with it. Phthalo green and ultramarine. Everybody has ultramarine. You get this lovely, like a shimmery, shiny blue, almost an aquamarine. That's wonderful. But look at this. But look at this gray. Look at the life in the gray that's there. That's so cool. That's so fantastic. All right. All right. Love phthalo green. Love phthalo green. Phthalo blue's just as interesting too. Okay. So we're trying to build up a little something going on here, right? Are we still trying to do that? Or have we moved past that? Let's see if we can get back to doing some painting here, huh? Let's give it a shot. I think I'm going to ditch the wet in wet, and I'm just going to do this my way, which I should have done from the beginning. Sometimes I can do wet and wet. This is one instance where I think wet and wet would have been a lot better with some full cotton paper. But that's okay. We'll do it with this because look at the shading on that I just did right away. Already looks better than the shading I did on these other ones. And I did that in 2 seconds. It's so much more used to it. All right, I'm going to do something up here. All right, this has got a little cupping in here. I have no... Thanks for the demo. Come back next week. Will probably be another one. Liza likes to keep me on my toes and asks questions to see lots of demos about color. And you know what? Honestly, that's kind of one of the neat things about doing a live stream like this is I want to get through the painting. I want to show everybody the painting. I want to do the painting, but we can always stop in the middle and do something like that. It doesn't have to take forever. It doesn't have to be the main focus of the stream. We just do a little bit and have a little fun with it. And I'm totally fine with that. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So that's all good. It's all good. Let's see. Ultramarine is One color I can never be without. Ultramarine is, you know, I don't know. I like ultramarine. I don't think I use it as much as everybody else. I like it, but I like my Phthalo Blue, and I like the Cobalt Blue so much. Let's see. This has got a bit of a pocket on the top, I'm gonna say, right? Something like this, and we're just gonna blend this down. Ultramarine, which is funny. I guess it kind of makes sense though, right? Ultramarine can be good for snow scenes. I guess that makes sense because what is snow, right? Just water. So I have to ask everybody, can you guys hear the rain? Nobody has said any difference between it. Nobody has said anything about it, but man, for me, it's just pounding down here. Boom, 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 boom. That's all I hear. Can you guys hear it too? Suduke says, for any newbies here, you got to watch out for Liza and Susie. They'll get you interested in new colors. That's true. What's the difference between French ultramarine and ultramarine? I don't know. One speaks a foreign language. I don't have any. Honestly, I have no idea. One sounds exotic, and you can charge more for it. Dwayne says, I was going to ask you about the rain. Yes, it's Dwayne, this is gonna keep me from going fishing this weekend, this rain. I live in California, and it's not a very wet area of California. It's been wetter this year than it has been for most years, and the lake I go fishing at, it's a reservoir. You can't go on the lake. You kind of have to walk around the lake, and they don't like you to walk around the lake if it's muddy, and so they close it a lot. And I fear that this week, that's a lot of blue. This week the lake is going to be closed, and I'm going to be at home, which is terrible because then my wife is going to have this giant honey-do list for me to do, and then I'll be compelled to do it. If I'm not here, I'm kind of out of sight, out of mind. There's a little less to do. Everybody knows how that works, right? Now, I should say there's a lot to do at our house right now. We just got the roof, which is great. I'm glad we got the new roof on. It's keeping the house extremely dry right now, drier than it's been in 15 years. But we also got new carpet, and because we got new carpet, everybody wants to paint their room. And so everything's taped off and furniture's all moved around right now, and there's a lot going on inside my house. So, is that the answer? There's more red in French ultramarine? Is that right? Is that the answer? I am Gnome says, it just got above freezing here in Minnesota. You're hoping for rain. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. You're going to have all of ours. Take it. I'm happy to go back to being in the desert. Okay, hold on a minute. I might have to dig into my cabinet here. If you're going to tell me. I got a few things stacked on top that I need to move. before I can get into it. But if you're going to tell me the difference is... Liza says it's nice to change things up. Well, we had to. We had to. Now, you're all going to make me... See, these are my Daniel Smith paints. There must be an ultramarine in here, right? French ultramarine. Let's see if I can find another ultramarine. So apparently, M. Graham is just ultramarine. So we should be able to do this then, right? Where's the scrap sheet of paper? Yeah, we can paint on this guy. Okay, so Daniel Smith. Come on. There you go. Okay, Daniel Smith. Gen X says, I'm in Quebec. You don't want our weather. I've been to Quebec, and you're right. I don't. It's too... it was hot in the summer, and it was cold in the winter, and... yeah, you're right. I don't want it. Okay, so here's French Ultramarine by Daniel Smith. And then this is Ultramarine, just Ultramarine by M. Graham. This won't give us the perfect comparison. It would be nice if we could get one brand, but we can get a little thicker up here. Come on. Now I like this because now I can learn something about it too. Let's go around this bird's head. We don't need to go over his head. Just spread that color out so we can all see it. Cool. And to me there does look like a little bit of difference, but if I look on here somewhere, pigment PB29. So this is PB29 straight, and the ultramarine from M. Graham is also just PB29. So while there is a little bit of difference, I would actually say this one looks a little warmer than that one. There can't be too much difference between it because they're using basically the same pigment in it. And the difference then would be the binders, maybe? Who uses Daniel Smith? Ilaria uses Daniel Smith. I like Daniel Smith. I just don't love Daniel Smith. I don't have anything against the Daniel Smith colors. I just don't like them as much as I like the M. Graham colors. This was weird, I did years ago take a watercolor class with a guy here at a local community college. He was, back in the day, he was actually a fairly famous artist. He broke into the art world with Jasper Johns and Jackson Pollock. He knew Jackson Pollock and a couple of those other guys. I guess he knew Andy Warhol. He didn't hang around with Andy Warhol, but he knew him and some of those guys. And he would not use Daniel Smith. He was like, I just will not use it at all. Granulation differences, maybe? There could be. The pigment number doesn't have anything to do with the granulation. The granulation has a lot to do with the binder and how fine it's ground. But you can definitely see, I think you can definitely see, The Daniel Smith is granulating more than the M Gram is. That's a little bit, it's a little wet, so it might be a little hard for you to see. But it's definitely there. And Daniel Smith kind of is known for a lot of granulation, right? And M Gram is not. And as it's drying up here, you can see there are little differences in the color. But, you know, that's okay. Whoops. All right, let's see if we can do some more of this. How am I going to do this? Let's see. I need to look where... Let's see, this is... So this one comes back here like this. Something like this. Let's just let that run down. Is that whole back one in shadow? This whole back one here is pretty much in shadow. Let's give that a little darker color. This here needs to be a bit pinker, more pinker, if that's a term. The texture difference is interesting. I might create an M Gram palette for those times when I want smooth texture. There you go. That's one of the reasons I have my M Gram palette is I don't want or need excuse me, all of that granulation. Right? If I'm painting, you saw excuse me. The thing in the world I like to paint most are birds, right? I love painting birds. Everybody knows I like to paint birds. It's not always a big call for a lot of granulation in birds. So I never got into heavily granulating paints. And probably that has a bearing on why I don't use Daniel Smith paints so much, and why I like these M Gram paints so much better. But if your style of watercolor painting is different than mine, and I hope that it is, then that granulating paint really might be something that you want to hone in on. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, Jen X says, I'm trying to figure out why Paul Clark goes nuts for French Ultramarine specifically. Thank you for that. Didn't mean to derail. It's fine. I'm happy to be derailed some days. I tell this to my team. Let's see. However, Holbein just made a set of granulating watercolor paints called Birds. Ay, 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 Susie. Why? Now I'm going to have to go look at those. I tell this to my team at work all the time, that if you mention something and I think there's some cool value in it, we're going to take a look at it. If I don't necessarily see the value in it, it doesn't mean that there's not any value in it. It just means that at the moment, I'm more focused on something else. And if you want to ask a second time, feel free. I would never deter anybody from doing that. But it's always, at my work, and I guess here too, it's going to be my call what we go over. So I see things all the time that I go, oh, that'd be kind of cool. How does that work? And then I jump into doing some different things and whatnot. So I think it was a great little, what do we call it? Sidetrack. A great little thing to jump into. I thoroughly enjoy it. Jen X, you're a horticulturalist. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'm impressed. I don't think I've ever known a horticulturalist. That's cool. Liza says Holbein likes to add white to lots of colors. Holbein likes to Holbein does lots of stuff I wish they wouldn't do. Specifically, Holbein adds extra pigments to colors to make their colors. And I've got a bunch of Holbein paints. Some of them are very nice paints. But the problem I have with Holbein paints, and again, you know, take this for what it's worth, it's just some half-bit guy talking about it on his YouTube channel. The problem I have is that if you start mixing their colors too much, then what happens is you end up with really gray paintings. Right? Your paintings will mute down, and they just won't be quite as vibrant as they could be. And it's because they have multiple pigments in all of their paints. And I think my personal opinion is that holds them back in some of their paints a bit. Because the more pigments you get, right, where's my, I'm going to bring out my color wheel. This is a great time for a demonstration with the color wheel. I don't know if anybody, have I ever talked about my color theory? Have I ever talked about it? They don't need to add white. They don't need to add white to their colors. They don't need to add most of their colors to their colors. They really don't. Okay, I need to thin this down a little bit. This got on a little thick back there, but that's okay. We're going to do this. So my color theories, this is not what everybody else believes necessarily. It's what I believe, and my belief is that there's quite a bit of truth to it. And if you go to Handprint, the site Handprint, the guy will basically show you the same thing. I don't know where I have his color wheel printed out, right? But if you have let's do this. You have a yellow, right? Here's how we do this. You have a yellow. Let's say it's a warm yellow. So you have. Now you're gonna make me do this. I don't have any idea what this color is gonna look like, so bear with me. You have a warm yellow. I'm gonna use Gamboge. That's about the warmest yellow you're gonna get. It's a lovely, lovely color. And you use a red, and I'm gonna use. I almost said phthalo. Permanent alizarin crimson because it's super bright. Okay? So if you look to see where the two values of these are on the color wheel, and you can put this color wheel however you want. I probably should have done this the other way. But you've got those two colors way out here on the color wheel. Alizarin crimson is going to be way out to the side, and most colors are going to be around the wheel. The further out from the center you are, the brighter, the more intense your pigment is. The closer in, the duller, the grayer it is. So you've got these two, but let's just say these are these two here. Actually, so I can make this look legit, let's do it this way, right? We've got a red and we've got a yellow. You combine these two. You don't combine them this way and go up. You combine them just by drawing a line across. So they're going to get yellower. I'm sorry. They're going to get grayer, less vibrant. Maybe not grayer, but definitely less vibrant when they come into the middle. So if you now set this down. So if we let these dry, that alizarin crimson is super vibrant in its state. This Gamboge is pretty vibrant in its state. this orange, when it dries, it's going to have less vibrancy than the least vibrant of the two that were mixed together. So it just takes the intensity down, so that if you mix a red, a yellow, and a blue, right? Oops, let's do it this way. This is the proof of my theory. You mix a red, a yellow, and a blue all together, right? Red and yellow come here, blue comes here. It should end up right in the center somewhere, right? Come this way, and come this way. That's where you're going to get your gray or your brown gray, like that. It's just, I don't know, makes sense to me. I don't know if it's actually a thing. Let's see. I Am Gnome says, oh wow, I usually don't like any alizarin crimsons, but now I'm noticing that Windsor and Newton version is much more maroon than the red I like. Liza says, I think alizarin crimson wrecked that mix just because I don't like the color. Well, it didn't wreck the mix, right? That's a lovely orange. Look, it's a nice orange. There's nothing wrong with that orange. This is my orange, which is, there you go. Let's do that. Which is Azo Orange, right? Azo Orange is a single pigment color. So that looks more vibrant than that color. So Gamboge is, let's do it here. Look, okay, look. Alizarin Crimson is pigment red 264. Gamboge is a mix of pigment yellow 151 and pigment orange 62. So now this in the middle is 3 pigments together. And if you look at it, or you can start to see it drying over there, compared to this looks so much more bright and vibrant and alive than that does. Because that's got 3 pigments in it, and that one's only got 1 pigment in it. Ooh. Okay. Now, have I taken everybody down a color theory that nobody ever wanted to go down? Have I done that? Is everybody going, oh, maybe this wasn't the week I should have tuned in? Let's see. Gen X, I have just orange from Paquibo. It's crazy vibrant. Yeah, so the advent of modern colors has kind of killed things. I'd be willing to bet you that Paquibo set is all man-made colors, right? They're all different. They're like quinacridones, right? They're all man-made. There's no natural colors in there, and it's that bit of chemical tomfoolery that is changing. It's forcing a change in the way people think about colors, the way people see colors. There's nothing wrong with that. All you're doing when you use those is you're expanding the color wheel, right? So a normal let's do this. I can't flip this over. I'll do it here, but we'll do it small. Whoops. Okay. Well, we'll do it right here. So here's the normal outside of our color wheel. Could probably draw this a little bit better than that. Right? And we've got alizarin crimson that's very bright and very strong, and it sits out here. And we've got this yellow, which, I don't know, it's bright and it's strong, and it sits out here. But we've also got Cerulean Blue, which is not the strongest, brightest color. It kind of sits inside the wheel. So this outside line is the average intensity, the brightness of the color. So some colors that are really bright sit outside of it, and some colors that are really not bright sit inside of it. So this olive green is going to sit here somewhere, right? It's not a very bright color. Let me take some of this away so you know it's olive green. There you go. I think you can see it's more green now. Right? So we mix, and it's not necessarily a mix of these two colors, but you mix these two, and where you draw that line right through there, you get a green. In fact, if we were to do that, right? That one and this one, there's the green that we would get. Okay, it's not olive green, but that's the green that we would get. But that green wouldn't be as bright as any chemical green that you would make, because through chemistry you can set the intensity and the brightness of this anywhere that you wanted to. So if you wanted this color, you would just through whatever chemical process, you make that pigment, then you make it brighter, and then you could make it sit outside the circle, or you can make it sit where it would normally be, which is inside the circle there. And the closer to the center of the circle you get, the duller, the darker, the less vibrant those colors become. I don't know. I don't know if that helped anybody. I am no. You should start tuning in. You're learning a lot. I hope you're learning. I hope you're learning, and it's not just listening to some old man ramble on about colors that aren't important to anybody. But there is, if you're mixing your own colors, there is a lot to learn about it, right? You can figure out what you need to do to, oops, that's the wrong red, to make brighter, more vibrant colors. There's lots of stuff we can do. And there's a lot of reason why when you mix colors together, then you look at it, you go, I thought it was going to be brighter than that, or I thought it was going to look, slightly different than that. There's a reason it looks different. Because you've taken, a paint that has 2 or 3 pigments in it, and you've made it now a paint that has 4 or 5 pigments in it. And you may have skewed it to your needs, but it's still always going to have the less vibrancy, less luminosity than other things. I actually saw a demonstration where a guy went, there's no such thing as muddy water. And I'm like, what? Wait, hang on, what are you talking about? We all know what muddy water is. None of us want muddy water in our paints. And he was like, there's no such thing. He was, all you have to do is change the temperature of it, i.e. add more of whatever color you want. If you add enough color, then you're always going to have the proper water that you want. And you don't have to worry about mud. And I'm like, yeah, but that's great. What if you're not in a spot where you can just add more water or add too much more color? You have to worry about the volume of water you have. He goes, because water's cheap and easy. Just go buy yourself some more water and change it. And I'm like, I guess that works. I don't know. But it was interesting to hear him talk about the different qualities of color in water, and why one is, adding a yellow to a blue water is a good thing to do, and why adding blue to yellowish brown water is a good thing to do. It was fascinating. And then that started me asking a lot of questions about different colors, and that's why I kind of came up on my way of thinking. It sounds like a waste of color. It was kind of a waste of color, but this guy, I think, didn't worry about wasting colors. Very true about the mixing issues. Then there's the drying, shifting color too. Yeah. Liza, I don't know why you're saying you're a cartoon. I must have missed something. I gotta go back up. Oh, Natalie's here. Hello, Natalie. I'm very grateful for any color rambling. I'm a young artist, and all these demos are super informative. Ask. I am Gnome. Ask more questions. I'm happy to. I'm happy to expound. Sudike, I did a color mixing exercise using autumn leaves as the models. It made your head hurt. Autumn leaves are great for colors, right? Because they can be anything. Autumn leaves are leafy, but there's so many greens and yellows and reds and oranges and browns in autumn leaves that, regardless of what they end up looking like, regardless of how you paint them, they end up right. Whether they look exactly like what you started with, now I guess is a different question. All right, so I'll be honest with you. This painting's not going the way I thought it was going to go. It's just not going the way I thought it was going to go. I think part of the problem, is that I'm using this Quiacridone Rose that I don't normally use. I'm not blaming the color. I'm blaming my lack of use in it. I don't see the differences in the color, in this color, like I do with some others. And probably, quite honestly, some of this is the reference photo too. I probably could have done a better job picking a reference photo. I think of what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to go way darker with some of these. Right? I'm going to start to go way darker. Like right up here. This is way darker up here. And I'm going to vary this color a little bit because that's what I like to do. And I'm probably going to get away from all of what this looks like and just revert to type and kind of do it my own way, which is what I should have done to begin with. And we're going to see how this goes. I am Gnome. If you're just learning, I keep trying to teach myself this all the time. It's like the Matrix. All of the rules can be bent, some can be broken when it comes to painting. And you kind of need to experiment to find out which one of those works best for you. Bending or breaking or following in some cases. Sometimes following rules is nice, I guess. But more than that, if you come back, you'll hear me talk about it a lot, is trying to figure out what you like to see in your paintings and then going with that. And if you like to see things a certain way, figure out how to paint things in that way. When you go from the outside of the color wheel, the outside is the brightest part. That is correct. The center is black. The center is, yes, a dark neutral. Liza, you're really good at oils. You just never trust yourself with watercolor. It's not elusive. It's sometimes infuriating. From the outside in, you are gradually introducing color from the opposite side of the color wheel to form that black in the center. I'm not sure black is right, but in theory, but not in actuality. If you make 2 steps to the center by introducing a bit of the opposite color. Do the same thing with any other color, and they'll be happy. There you go. Gonna learn what the rules are before you can break them. I've been branching. No, the rules are, I'll tell you exactly what the rules are. Paint what you like, enjoy the process, and understand that there's going to be some frustration along the way. And if you can understand that there's going to be some frustration, it will reduce the amount of frustration that you get from it. Right? You're not going to get away from it, but you'll have an understanding of why it's there. And then forge a path ahead. I've told the story lots of times that when I started out, and I had plenty of help when I got started, when I started out, I would watch YouTube videos, and I would encourage people to watch YouTube. For what it is, it's good, but it has its drawbacks too. Take it for what it's worth. Watch the videos, but don't necessarily feel compelled to recreate what they do, because I fell into that trap, and I saw all these videos, and I was like, oh, I want to try that, and I would adjust what I was painting to look like what somebody else did, and then I would try to make that my style. And sometimes things worked, and sometimes things didn't, and I got frustrated when they didn't. And so I try to tell people, figure out what you like and figure out what your brush likes, right? Or how you paint, right? Figure out how you paint. We don't all paint the same. Everybody's style is different. Everybody's eye is different. And paint to your style, to your eye, and pull in little bits here and there from other people. Not necessarily everything that they do. Something just flashed at me on my screen. And if you can pull in little bits and pieces from everybody else, you'll probably do a good job with your own style, and that will help you develop your own style. You'll get more of an understanding of what you like to do, or the way that your hand likes to paint, or whatnot. And I can tell you, I'm not liking the way this is going. I'm not wild about the paper either. I'll tell you that. Thought this was going to be totally different than it is. Not having a good time here. It's that little lip on here that I'm having trouble with. Right around the edge. I don't want my, I don't know. I feel like I need to, yeah, I don't know. Ay, ay, ay. Susie's a wealth of knowledge, and just she's here a lot, which is great. Yeah. James Gurney. Wait. I like James Gurney. What are we talking about James Gurney? I haven't seen him in a long time, though. Yeah, this paper's not working for me. I'm not sure all of this is working for me, to tell you the truth. Ay, ay, ay. All right, this one may this one may not turn out to be my best painting. Susie says, Michael, the painting's going well. You might feel you're at the ugly stage of the painting. Yeah. the camera's making it look like it's got some nice vibrant colors, which it does. I'm just not wild about the way it's coming out here. Let me, come on, give me some more of this. Oh, what do I want to do over here? Okay, let me come over here. I want this to be, this is in the back. This is more blue. Let's do a little bit here. Let's start small and build up from there. Right, come on. Come on, Michael. We can do this. All right, it's got some darkness over there. I'm going to add a little bit of water and some red on the edge. Just because I think that'll be a cool look. If some of that flows back in there, I'm good with that. Dark back here, maybe even a little bit more. A little bit darker back here. There's a little shadow underneath. Maybe I just wasn't talking to myself enough about what I'm doing. Sometimes that happens. You gotta tell yourself a story. You gotta make up a little something as you go along. Right? So there's that. It's a little more color down towards the bottom. Down there. And then right around. I do rinse my brush quite a lot. So that to me has a nice watercolory feel to it. Why haven't I been doing this all along? That to me is what I should have been doing since the beginning of this. That I like. That I really like. All right, let's recreate that up here. Right? Let's do that. That sounds like a thing we should do, right? Let's get back on track here. A little bit of dark in there. That's like pure phthalo. Some more of this red. Oh, this is what I wanted to do. Yeah, that to me looks so much better than some of this other stuff here. Why? This is dark back here. Dark, and then it comes much lighter, much quicker. We're going to fix it. We're going to save this. It's going to turn out to be fantastic when we're done with it. I guess in the end, right, that's part of watercolor painting is there's some stuff that's not going to go right. Let's deal with it. Let's figure it out. And then we'll move into the stuff that does go right. And we'll just keep right on rolling with it. Oh, that's much more of what I should have been doing. Oh, I like that much better. And then this color can continue to go down. That little ridge of blue there just tells me, oh, there's a little bit of a shadow right there. Liza says, that's working. What she didn't say is, that's working. Finally. No, I said that. I said that. All right, cool. And it sounds like the rain is actually picking up a bit, which is distressing to me. It's going to be so wet here. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of this red on. Come on, get a little bit of this blue right in here. Nice. Then go back to our Quiacridone Rose. That can all go over there. Got this nice watercolory feel to it. I don't know what I'm going to do about this big thing here. That paper just kind of soaked that color up right away. I don't feel like I got, ouch, the full opportunity to fix that. Like I had scraped that down before and took some sizing off of it or something. I don't know what's going on with that. I think we'll have to fix that with a little bit more paint. Michael, how long is it supposed to rain by you? So, thankfully, it's going to rain for another 2 days. I say thankfully, not because I want the rain, but because we need the rain. It is, well, so this is the way I put it. Our reservoirs out here, we have several reservoirs that feed water to the different cities out here. We have 3 main reservoirs. The reservoir that fed my city was at 86%, something like that. So I would go out to go fishing at the reservoir, and the water at the end of the year in December was about 12 to 14 feet down lower than it was last January. So if we continue to get rain, that'll all come back up, and we need it. Like I said, it doesn't mean I want it. I like it to be nice and dry and whatnot, but we do need it. And the reservoir that feeds my city has a larger, what do they call it? A larger area that feeds water into where our reservoir draws its water from. A watershed. It has a bigger watershed. So we're doing pretty well. The other reservoirs around us are down to, I don't know, 60% of their water levels or so. And so they desperately need the rain. Natalie says we're supposed to have rain most of the day tomorrow. So exciting, because you don't get a whole lot of rain either. Sudika says, I'm near Chicago. We hardly had any snow this year. That has you worried. That would have me worried a little bit. Our friends have a beach house in Michigan, and the lake has receded terribly. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Everybody's water everywhere is completely out of control. Okay. I'm going to stop that for a second, what I'm doing, and I'm going to come over, and I'm going to give a little bit more here. Let's see. Anna Juanita's here. Good evening, Anna. Nice to have you back. All the snow went south this year. Yeah. Yeah, Dwayne, Dwayne lives in the southern states. One of the southern states. Did you get snow this year? Dwayne, if you're still here. I'm betting he did. And I'm betting it's not a normal thing for him to get snow. Let's see. I'm gonna drop a few browns and some of my green here in this stem. And as I think there needs to be a little highlight, I'm just gonna leave a little highlight. Use some brown. This is burnt umber. Going with my olive green. I really like that olive green color. I think it's quite fantastic. I don't know if anybody else, quite frankly, makes a similar color to that. All the way to the beaches. Oh. Yeah. I think it's a weird winter for everybody. A little weird. But we live in strange times right now, and so it's all Let's all figure a way to get through. And we'll all be better on the other side. All right. So I'm betting you that I'm going to like the way that these branches come out. I usually like the way my sticks and twigs and woody things look when I paint them. I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe I resonate with sticks and twigs more. I don't know. I don't know. I do think that in general, if you can resonate with something a little bit better, you're going to paint it a little bit better. In general, I'm gonna get flowers. I'm gonna figure flowers out at some point in time. I promise you. I think my issue with flowers is there's no hard surfaces. You have to be delicate with all of them. All of them. You don't just get to say, well, I'll do, like a bird. Well, I can paint the wing, and if the wing doesn't come out right, then it's okay because this part of the bird I can alter and match some of it. You don't get that with flowers. There's no big, beefy, manly part of these flowers that you can just go, oh, well, I'll just kind of power my way through this. You've got to pay attention to the whole thing. All right, so I'm going to pay attention to the whole thing. I'm going to drop a little yellow in here, and that's going to be kind of the center of some of these. What? Oh, Dwayne, holy cow. You're going to have tornadoes over the next couple of days. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to send you some positive thoughts. Having lived through tornadoes growing up, it is scary. And the damage that they can do is unbelievable. So I'm going to be sending you some positive thoughts there, my friend. Liza says that's nice on the stems. Thank you. Liza, Michael, you really are better than you think with the flowers. I don't know. Dwayne, I surprised myself and painted a clear glass, but flowers, no way, they are difficult. Yeah. Many positive thoughts. Yes. If you pray, please send some prayers Dwayne's way. If you don't, some positive thoughts would be beneficial instead or in lieu of. But please, let's send something his way. All right. So when I look at this picture, let's see if I do this. Does that get bigger? Oh, it gets too big. Look at that. You're seeing me edit this live in real time, which I know is, whoops, come on, which is great. There you go. So when I look at this, the middle part, the stamen, is that what it's called? Where the pollen is down there is a darker, richer color. It's got that orangey, the stamens, the feel in the center of it. But there is some darker color over there. And let's see if I can come back. I'm going to try to do some of that over here. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take a little bit of our base color here, which is quinacridone, and I'm going to put a line of it here. Where's this one go? Kind of like that. And then I'm going to use my Maroon Perylene, which may seem like a weird companion color. But I'm going to pull in some color for that. And I think that's going to give us this nice dark interior in there. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. This entire piece should have a strong color here. And then inside that, boy, it sounds like that rain just picked up again. Some darker colors. Maybe I'll mix a little bit of this Pyrrol Red in there. It's got this crazy little bit on the bottom down here. And back to my darker colors. Maybe this will help pull this whole thing together. Something like that. I see, I like painting like, why didn't I do this from the beginning? Because I try to do different things. I shouldn't try to do these different things sometimes. I had it in my head that I could paint, you know, 6 different layers here, and we'd be doing okay with this. And then it comes down to it, it's not my style, and I have trouble with it. And then I revert back to my style, and things start looking a little better again. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I do it sometimes. But I think, you know, this is going to help with everything. Where's that Pyrrol Red? Let's get some of that Pyrrol Red in here. I'm going to go back to I want to make sure some of this touches and mixes. Gets real nice and friendly in there. There you go. I love the centers. I love the centers. Michael, okay. What's your best tip for shading with really vibrant colors? I never quite get it right. With oh no! Wait a minute. Illyria says Marco Bucci, color harmony, 10 minutes to better painting. Interesting. Marco Bucci. I'm gonna look him up. Okay. What's your best tip for shading with really vibrant colors? My tip for shading with vibrant colors: don't do it. I don't know. Go slow. Go slow might be a good one. Actually, the right answer is probably make sure that your vibrant colors still match with the rest of the color harmonies that you have going on. right? A bad thing to do is to try to push through some colors that don't have anything to do with the rest of your painting. So, like on this painting, quite honestly, I was a little worried about using this Maroon Perylene because it can be a bit overpowering, but I wanted the centers of these to pop out maybe a little bit more than the rest of the leaves. I think that's a kind of a cool thing of the orchids, is sometimes they have that center. So I'm willing to risk it a little bit. Oh man, I got these to go over here. Let's see. Sorry, I meant how to add shadows to vibrant colors without making it muddy. Cool. So that's an easier question. Let that first layer dry totally, and then go in with a thin, light layer over top. If it's not totally dry, it'll come right off, and the colors will mix, and you get mud sometimes. But if you let your colors dry thoroughly, you're going to do okay. You can wet it, and that first 10 seconds or so, the color typically doesn't come back up off the page. Typically. It might a little bit, but typically you've got a bit more time to work with if it's totally dry. So I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to use a little bit of my green that we already have here to tone this down a little bit. Not all the way, but just a little bit. So yeah, you know, painting in watercolors is an exercise in, it's an exercise in patience a lot of time, right? But more than that, it's an exercise in understanding the limitations of the materials that you're using. And sometimes the limitation is that you can't go back over top of it right away, right? If I go back over top of these right now, these three centers, they're still wet, I'm probably going to screw them up completely. And I probably don't really want to do that. So I'm going to leave them alone. But if I let them dry totally, and then come back and try to go over top of them, I can get them wet, and then spend 10 seconds trying to figure out a shadow as I go over top of them. And some of that understanding is from your paint, and some of that understanding is from your paper, and some of that understanding is from everything else, right? And that everything else could be the thickness of the paint that you put on originally. It could be, what else could it be? I don't know. There's a lot of other variables. Putting paint on too thick is one big one, that even if you let your paint dry before you put the next layer on, i.e. a shadow layer, that the paint will sometimes come right back up. And some paints react a little differently regardless. So for me, I use mostly these M-gram paints. I know that in my world, this burnt umber that I use wicks up pretty easily. So I have to be super careful about using my burnt umber if I'm gonna glaze over top of it. Just one of the limitations of the paint that I use, and I recognize it. So if I think I'm gonna be glazing over top of something, I'll try to use sepia more, because that will get me my brown tones. It won't be the same tone, but I know it won't lift off nearly as easily. So now I'm coming in and I'm trying to add some blue in here, which is going to push some of this back. I'm going to add a little bit of a pink to make the stuff in front pop a little bit more. I think I'm almost done. whether I need to be or not, I think I'm almost done. This one I should be able to do a lot with this one back here. This should be able to be dark. Dark, dark, dark. Even down here, that should be able to be pretty dark. And we should be able to lighten this as we come up. Well, we're starting to get some definition between these, right? That's one thing I was worried about. I'm basically using 3 colors here. So sometimes getting some definition amongst these petals can be difficult. I think once I kind of scrapped my original plan and reverted back to type on how I typically paint, I think our definition between these is getting much better and probably where it should have been to begin with. I'm a big fan of the graded wash. I do graded washes pretty well. I should have just started with that and not worried about doing wet painting. I think we'd have done a whole lot better. I'm going to head out for tonight. It's really late where I'm at. I am Gnome. Thank you for showing up. I'll be back here for sure. I'll be back here next Wednesday doing something else. And I don't know what it's going to be right now, but hopefully you can come back. It was great having you here tonight. Thank you for asking questions and being an active participant. I think it's fantastic. I love answering questions. So go practice some watercolors and write down some questions about what you're seeing when you do it and come back and ask us all next week. And hopefully somebody will be able to answer those questions for you. Maybe it'll even be me. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, cool. Again, thank you. Illyria, it's late time for midnight snack. Pepperidge Farm's goldfish. I like that. I like Pepperidge Farm goldfish are fantastic. Let's do this. Let's bring this up a little bit, right? Can we do this without killing everything? A little bit of color here. I might be able to save this whole painting. Ooh, I like that. And down here, I think I've grabbed the wrong color red, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to let it bother me. Oh, we can totally get to see some of these petals now. Totally starting to look better. Look at that. I think I need a little more color in here. I'm going to drop it in and let that color do whatever it's going to do. Oh. Next to that blue behind it, this is just going to pop right off the page. Let's get a little bit more down here too. And then we'll let this meet in the middle. Who said maybe I was just in that awkward stage? Maybe you were right. Oh, look at that. It's looking better. Look at that. All right. I wonder if I can save this one. I'm going to try to save this one up here. Let's do this whole thing. How do we overcome color issues? More color. More color. More color. I need dark next to light, lights next to darks. That is a bright color for sure. That quinacridone, man, whoo! That's almost like opera. That is bright. But I'll tell you what. I think it's coming out okay. I think it's coming out okay. Oh, Sadiq says, Elira, I'm thinking about Haagen-Dazs coconut pineapple ice cream. Wow. You guys have some specific snack tastes there. I'm going to tone this down a little bit of blue over here, but I'm still going to have quite a bit of color here. All right, I don't know that these orchids are anything I would have seen at this orchid show I went to. I think these are turning out to be something that I might see at the local supermarket. I think that's okay. I think that's totally fine. I should have just started like this and put in some colors and pulled out some lights where they needed to be. I think this looks a lot better like this. I'm going to put in a little bit of brighter color right back here. Let that pale color stand out a little bit. I can just say that everything else was just kind of an underpainting, right? Just an underpainting. That's all it was. A little bit more of that green. Let's darken that up a little bit. All right. I think the only thing I want to do is put a little color right back here. And then actually, I don't think that's that bad. I think it started out a little shaky, a little sketchy, I'll admit. I had a few doubts. But I think in the end it's coming together. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to sign it. And then we're going to talk for a minute. Okay. So I think that's right in the middle where everybody can see. Couple of things. Oh, let me get there. Let me do this. Let me get that out of the way. And let me get that out of the way. And then I think everybody can see what's going on here. Okay. And let me get something to point with. Okay. So, you know, you've all been on this journey with me. I'm trying to get watercolory look out of what I do, because I think that watercolors are, you know, the greatest medium out there. So let's talk about this for a minute. I like this back here. I like some of these areas here, kind of like this. That one I'm not so worried about, not so fond of. And yes, I do like the stem. I think the stems look great. I actually like the centers. I think the centers, they didn't turn out exactly like I thought they would, but I think the centers are fine. I do think this, as a painting, suffers from a couple of problems, right? My problems are, I don't have enough definition between the petals, right? Yeah, left a little lighter spot. There's a couple of white spots. This you can definitely see is different than that. It's different than that. That is good. This one is good. This one has some goodness. This one, the whole thing, a little shakier. Could have done better had I started differently. That's okay. I think the biggest problem I have with this is this Quiacridone Rose. It looks... I don't know. When I look at this, that's a cool look to me. Does it look anything like the reference photo? Not really. I mean, the general shape is the same. It doesn't look anything like it. Does this look anything like it? Yeah, not really. But this big pink thing here and this one is a bit much for my eyes. It does help define the shape, but it's a bit much. I think, I hate to say this, I think if I were going to do this again, and I might do this again, is pull out my Daniel Smith paints, which are specifically made for florals, and use those, rather than rely on something that is, very akin to opera pink, which I think just got away from me a little bit. And then I could have used a different color back here. I don't hate the Phthalo Blue in there, though. I actually kind of like that. Anyway, I don't hate this. I don't know that it was a complete success, but I don't hate it. If that orchid was in your house, you would appreciate it. Thank you, Liza. You're always so kind in saying things like that. Anyways, I am going to make it a mission to conquer flowers in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if I can't see them. I don't fully understand it. I don't know. Whoops, let me get this down out of everybody's way. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but I have trouble with flowers. So expect going forward, we're going to do a few more flowers. Susie says orchids look good. You can always add another wash. Right, I can always add another wash and it would tone that down a little bit. You're right. You're exactly right. Let's see. It would be interesting to see this in Daniel Smith paints as a comparison. Be careful what you wish for, because you might. If it's still raining on Saturday, I might just sit down here and do that. Who knows? Anyways, it is what it is. I had a great time here painting with you all. I hope that you all had a great time painting with me. I hope that you have a great rest of your night. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And more importantly than that, I hope you're able to come back and spend some time as a group here next Wednesday when we do something all over again. Until then, thank you so much for joining me. You've helped to make my evening fantastic. And we will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.